here with head coach Kevin Board, New Lex Panthers, 11-2 last year, small school division champs in the MVL, and lost to the eventual state champions Indian Valley in the Division IV playoffs last year in round 3. And always appreciate your time, Coach, and it was great to talk to you all year last year, and you guys had an awesome year, and so I'm excited to talk about the offseason with you. And I do want to start kind of with the news that happened in Dresden a couple weeks ago. The new head coach for Tri-Valley, Josh Wright, suddenly and unexpectedly and tragically passed away a couple weeks ago. And I know that the Tri-Valley community and that Dresden community is just so strong and so supportive of their teams there in that school. And I know that they're heartbroken by the loss of their new head guy, and he's such a respected coach that's been around for so long, and he coached with Dirk at Philo for a number of years, and now he's been with Tri-Valley the last couple before taking the head job. And I'm just curious to get your reaction to that news, hearing that news a couple weeks ago, and I guess what that loss means to not only the Tri-Valley community, but just the MVL in general.
Well, thanks. Well, I appreciate you having me on, and thank you for all that you and Storied Rivals do. You guys do a phenomenal job. It's certainly unfortunate with Coach Wright's passing. I'd actually heard from our assistant principal. He texted me, "Hey, did you hear what happened?" And this was kind of before it had really made, I don't want to say headlines, but it had gotten out there a lot, and he had put that out there, so then I started to reach out. I texted Nate, who's a close friend, "Hey, what's going on?" And that's what I kind of heard. So had reached out to Cam, who was on vacation at the time. So, he's trying to get away with his family for a little bit, and then your heart's right there. You can't be on vacation anymore. It's like you're thinking about everything you're away from. And to Dirk, and those guys are super close with him. And like I said, I think our league being so tight-knit that it is, we all have relationships with each other. It's not just showing up on a Friday and coaching against each other. Dirk and I saw each other in March at a Pittsburgh clinic. I talked to Nate frequently. Cam not as frequently just because it's not as, we play each other, but it's, with him stepping away, you hate to keep bothering him with all the stuff. But I don't really have words for it, man. It's super, super, like you said, tragic and unfortunate. I didn't know Coach Wright as well as some of those guys in the league. Like I said, those three, especially with working with him. But all that you could hear from anybody that knew him and knew him well was just how great of a person he was, how genuine, how kind, how much he enjoyed working with kids and doing the job that he did. So it's very unfortunate for him with the opportunity to get that head coaching title, to have his shot, obviously to lose that and miss out on it. But your heart goes out. You have no idea how to really put yourself in those shoes of what that would look like for you as a staff and for a team. To think about losing a coach, that your kids look at each day and talk to each day, and just all of a sudden them being gone. And I think that sometimes we lose focus on how much and how important that what we do is for kids. We may feel like football is the most important thing, but really it's just an outlet for kids to be able to have fun and enjoy themselves and play the game that they love. But they say those coaches are there all the time, and so it's something you probably take for granted a little bit, but the impact we have in that way. So just continue to send thoughts and prayers to those communities. And they say it's awful news for them. I can't imagine what they're going through in Tri-Valley specifically, but I know that Dirk was hurt as well. So just a true, genuine guy, and just continue to send thoughts and prayers to those communities.
Yeah, and I know, like, when we first met and talked, when I first started working for Storied Rivals, that you shared, your playing career kind of ended unexpectedly. So you kind of have some perspective on the idea that, nothing's ever guaranteed. You never know when the last of anything is. Is there a message that you've shared with your team recently, after this tragic event, with the team? Like, you never know when your last game is, you never know when your last snap is, and really, and from a life sense, you never know when your last conversation with anybody is, and no one's ever promised tomorrow. I mean, have you had any conversations with the kids on that front as far as just putting your best foot forward every day?
No, not yet. Like I said, it's our kids. I don't know that many would know him. Like I said, you try to talk about the situation and stuff. We talk about some yesterday was Sunday. Losing track of my days. Friday last week, we were talking about our family and faith and football and those three big F's in our life, and those people that you call your family, not just your blood, but those people that are closest to you, to spend that time and quality time and love each other and to have it. We try to talk a little life each day. We usually do talk about, you never know when your last is your last, but we haven't to this point. It came to me on Thursday that some of the things we were throwing out to our team, which is a lot of freshmen this year, a third of our team is freshmen and new guys, that they didn't know what cover 3 meant when we were saying to cover 3. So we had to go back and teach some football stuff there last week as we finally got started. But no, it's unfortunate. And like you said, it's he said, as somebody that had kind of football taken away at a point in my life, there's not really words to describe that feeling. It's something that there's people that are very, very passionate about the game. That's why we become coaches, because we love it. It's a big part of our lives. But there's just, like you said, there's no words to put onto it that, looking back, it's like, man, would I just give to get one more snap, one more play? I don't know how many more plays I could give, but to just have that do it one more time. So we do preach that a lot to our kids, but we haven't made that a specific message just as of right now, as we kind of just got started with our football stuff.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Now, the couple weeks ago was the All-Star Game, and it was a really good game for your 3 guys that you had in, on that squad. Isaiah Stevens, Bentley Hanson, Carson Kellogg, and Bentley walked out of that game with the MVP for the Muskingum Valley side. And I know those 3 guys were tremendous football players for you on the offensive side of the ball last year, and they contributed greatly to your success as a team, and that's why you guys were small school division champs. But you're losing 3 great talented players, but they were also great kids as well. And I know that those 3 in specific were very close, very tightly knit. What did they mean to you, over the years, coaching those guys, not only from a talent perspective, but just as guys in your locker room?
Oh, it's huge, man. That's the fun part of coaching football, is you get to see kids. I'm blessed enough that we have lifting during the school day. So once we get into winter, I get all my middle school kids. I start bringing them in a couple days a week to start working with them. So a lot of these guys I've known since they were, those guys about 7th grade. I had them for a full the 6 years that I had been here, and got to see them grow from little itty bitty middle schoolers to the young men that they are right now. And it brings happiness to your heart to see those guys and how they grow. You always talk about it being a team and everybody's important and all that. And this past year I think was the biggest team that I had that really bought into the fullest extreme of how important the team was, and that it was important to be connected and to play for each other, not just for yourself. And Carson actually used one of the things we talk about a lot in our leadership group in his valedictorian speech in May was, if you want to go far. Or if you want to go fast, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And so we preach that a lot. That's a message that I like to give each year to our group. And, that was something that meant something to Carson enough to speak to it. But those guys really it was fun to see them because they cared for each other. They cared about each other's successes. It wasn't about, I'm going to get mine and I'm going to get this record and I'm going to do this. But for football, one great player doesn't make a great team. Great players together, buying in and everything is going to help to do some of those special things. And last year was a special year for us. But those guys, along with some of the other seniors that we're losing, it's going to be impossible to replace. Just like you said, the leadership that they brought. Bentley was a 4-year starter for us. He stepped in the versus Meadowbrook and had to go play against Romeo Dorsey when he was one of the best receivers in the league. And he didn't. He just stepped down the field and did it as a freshman, and then he grew up to be one of the best guys in our league and did some special things, record-setting here. Isaiah, just a great knowledge of the game and figured out. And Carson is truly an extension of a coach, which is weird for a running back. You think those guys are quarterbacks, but Carson did a lot of that stuff as well and was a vocal leader and really helped to bring people together. So those 3, but this group specifically, just being able to be with them for so long, like I said, from their 7th grade year on, to see their development was a real joy for me. So it's right now we're going through some of the growing pains of figuring out who to replace a 1st, 2nd, and 3rd team All-Ohio guy with all those 3 guys being All-Ohio. But it was great to see them one more time play out. I wish like crazy that those 3 would have went and played football. Those things that some people look at as extreme and like wild and great plays that they were making. So, man, that's just what they do. There's a lot of plays that those guys made over the last couple of years that, whether in practice or a game, that you knew that they were special. So, but it was good to see them play one more and go out on a high note and to do it well and play well. It was good. I got to coach Isaiah and Bentley in the North-South All-Star Game a month or so prior to that. So it's been good. A nice way for them to put a bow on their career and their athletic careers as they move into work and college.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned that you're just getting started with your team this year and your off season and things. What's kind of the plan, I guess, over the next month to get ready for week one? I know you've had some 7-on-7s recently and things like that, but how's all that stuff been going? I think you said before we started, you got like 60 plus kids on your squad. I mean, how's that been ushering in some of these new kids and some of these younger guys that you're developing?
Yeah, it's been good. Yeah, we've got 64 guys, which is the most since I've been here. We got a full freshman schedule put together, so we've got guys at 3 different levels of varsity being able to play games and get experience. The challenging part is every year is a new year. You want to have this is how we do things. This is what we do. This is what our kind of our image or what we're known for is. That's your plan, right? But then you got, like I told you, we've got about a third of our team is freshmen and new guys, which is great. That sometimes we get caught up in, I got 64 guys, but of those 64, when 24 are freshmen, it's like, well, okay, we're not playing a lot of those guys on Friday nights yet. So it's just trying to figure out which of those guys are stepping into spots and trying to get this different group of team to come together and bond like we did last year and find some leaders. You mentioned Bentley, Isaiah, and Carson as the vocal pieces last year, and not just what they did on the field, but their leadership as well. That's 3 big roles you have to fill. Yeah, I think that when a team's leaders are really driving the culture that you have and driving the locker room and on the field and what it looks like, those are the things that take care of themselves, that you don't have to coach those things. So that's a huge void we're trying to fill right now, is trying to find some leaders to fill those guys. I don't think we're going to athletically replace necessarily with one guy what that looks like, but we've had a good start. We got a good 1 week under our belt. We had a 7-on-7 last week. We got another one this Wednesday, and then we're going to Westerville on Saturday. So we're trying to compete and get guys ready to play. 7-on-7 is not what some would call real football because there's no offense and defensive line, but I think it really helps with your timing and your relationship and your trust that you have between your quarterback and receivers. It allows your defense to work on a lot of different looks and coverages to be able to feel very comfortable in any situation. So it's something that we enjoy and something that we believe helps our kids. It also allows our sophomores, which we're going to have as primary backups this year, to be able to get meaningful reps without the fear of a win or a loss on your schedule, or without the fear of full pads going up against the seniors. So I think there's a lot of benefit to it. But we're going to continue to do that. We got some lineman challenges coming up, but it's been a fun summer. It's a different summer because it's such a new group, but in the same spec, we bring back 4 of our 5 offensive linemen, bring back half the defense. So you lose some of what I guess were our big names, but there's a lot of really key pieces and some great role guys that are coming back that are going to just have to step up what they do as leaders. But it's been an exciting summer, and we're had a little rain today. Didn't like that. I don't like getting wet.
That's fair.
Yeah, so hopefully the weather cooperates with us the rest of the week. But so far, so good. We're getting there.
Are those decisions, difficult to make as far as finding who your new leaders are going to be, or who steps into certain skill positions, who your quarterback is? Like, are those decisions difficult to make, or do they kind of take care of themselves as far as, as the weeks go on, you just see who separates themselves, whether it's in these practices, scrimmages, 7-on-7s? Does it take care of itself, or do you find those decisions hard sometimes?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think that it's the easiest thing we can do as coaches is say, hey, you need to lead, and then expect a kid to do it. But some kids don't feel comfortable in that role. So we have some guys that I think just have within them that just the people that they are, they're natural leaders. You have some of those, and then I try to develop kids every year. We have a leadership book study that we do in the spring, winter and spring, that we kind of meet once a week and go over some things and talk about how to be a leader. It's easy to say be a leader, but if they don't know how to lead or what you once said, you're not going to get that. So there's a little bit of a disconnect. So that was something we started doing a couple of years ago, just to try to develop leaders and put them in a position where they feel comfortable. We did a lot of team competitions in June this year to put some of our upperclassmen in leadership positions so that they could feel more comfortable leading, because when you've been with those guys that have been leaders for 2 or 3 years, you've never had to be. And so all of a sudden now you're expected to be, and you're not really sure how to do it or what to do it. And some guys lead non-verbally. They're going to lead by their actions. They're going to by how they work, how they approach the game. But we have some natural leaders as well, and then some guys just stepping in new positions and new roles that just it's a little bit of both. It's kind of like throwing something in a crock pot and hoping that it all comes out nice and good. But sometimes the recipe needs a little more of this, a little more of that. So so far, so good. Some guys are stepping up. We're blessed. Harrison Ratliff's a great vocal leader for us. Tanner Toth. Both of those guys are returning from our defense last year. Both were all league, all Ohio. So, those guys have really helped to take the burden of some things, but some other guys are getting more comfortable in those leadership positions.
Everyone loves a good crock pot meal, man. I love it. We posted a 7-on-7 clip, from your 7-on-7 last week, and did I see another lefty slinging it around the yard?
Yeah. So Lane Ratliff is going to be our quarterback this year. He's a junior. His two brothers, Logan and Lucas, both played quarterback for me. He's the only lefty in the bunch, but it was wild last year. I had three quarterbacks on the roster. All three were lefties. I had Isaiah, Lane as a sophomore, and then Jackson Newland, a freshman. Jackson stepped away this year, but I got a new freshman. My freshman's right-handed, so I had to give him a big hug when he came out to practice, and he's throwing with the right hand, and I could really emulate what needed to happen versus
sure
around. So, the other lefty. I've coached, oddly enough, I think I've coached more lefty quarterbacks than righty. My previous school before I came here, I had a lefty quarterback for me for 4 years. The 3 years started, but he was pretty good. And then obviously I had Isaiah for 2, and then Lane here for 2. So that's most of my career, I think, has been with lefties, oddly enough.
Is that hard to, because you just said like you had to give the freshman a big hug because he's a righty and you know how to emulate kind of what you need to happen. Like, is it hard to coach a lefty?
No, it's just you have to think about it. Like, okay, all right, let me flip around. Hesitation there a little bit. We were just talking with our kids today about football IQ and how most coaches are right-handed tendencies. So if we're in the middle of the field, we want to play our strength to the left. And, as a righty myself, I tend to think formationally right-handed versus left-handed, whereas a left-handed quarterback is going to be able to throw and read left-handed side better versus throwing quick stuff to the right. So your playbook kind of flips, but I don't think there's a huge difference. It's just making the kid feel comfortable with what you're doing. But the biggest thing is just trying to show them how to throw left-handed when it looks very unathletic and uncoordinated.
Sure, and people always say the left tackle is the guy that protects the blind side, but really in your case, it's the right tackle who is maybe the most important position on the offensive line, is protecting your lefty's blind side. So, and receivers too. I'm just spitballing here. I'm just thinking like receivers also, like, the ball is coming at them a little bit different. It spins the opposite direction, and that can kind of maybe throw them off mentally a little bit. I'm sure there's a lot of different ways you have to kind of coach differently, not just with the quarterback, but with your line and your receivers. Yeah, no, there's some different nuances. Our right tackle, Tristan Braden's a phenomenal kid. He's been a starter since his sophomore year, so this will be his third year coming up. That we knew when he was young that he needed to be our guy there on the right side. But how the ball tails a little bit on the deep balls, the spin of the different release point. The good news is these kids have all played with these guys for years, so I think that they've almost kind of just become second nature to them. Minus the freshmen who've had a righty. The rest of these guys have played with lefties, so it should be something they should be well accustomed to. But it's funny, I guess, a little weird. Yeah, for sure. Well, we're excited to see how the next month or so pans out for your team and developing your new players coming in, and like you said, a third of your team's freshmen. So that's really exciting as far as building for the next 4 years. But Coach, I appreciate your time as always, man. Talking football for about 20 minutes here, and I'm excited to see what the small school division champs do in 2025, man. And I always appreciate it. Thanks a lot, Will. I appreciate you having me on. Sorry for the technical issues, but I appreciate you and all that you guys do. It's been great working with you, and looking forward to another year. Hey, we took the scenic route, but we got there in the end,